All right, everybody. Welcome to the Cam and Joe Show. I'm with my good buddy Cameron Elkins.
Happy Monday, big dog.
I know, man. It's a good place.
It is a good place.
So
starting a week out in the studio.
Yeah. So things may look a little different. There was a little bit of a different setup, and we just kind of went with it.
I like this setup,
dude. It's kind of
cool. It works.
I feel like I should be like interviewing you on like a 60-minute.
Yes.
Was escaping prison that hard? Like I feel like
it wasn't as hard as I thought it would be, but now that we're on the podcast, they're going to come after me.
So first thing I want to say is thank you, everybody that's been watching the podcast. It's been amazing. We're super grateful. We've known each other for so long, but it's nice to hear. We've been hearing comments from different people. I've run into a couple people going, oh my gosh, I love the podcast. It's super fun. We're just trying to keep some informative, keep it fun, keep it lighthearted. Talk about serious subjects, but bring that hope in it.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. And then to be able to highlight good people doing good things, right? Because I almost want to be like a positive news source, right? When something's happening in the world, we'll be able to discuss it, but we'll be able to run it through our field of light, if you would.
Sure.
As soon as you turn on, doesn't matter if it's Fox or MSNBC or MSN. If it's negative, it makes the news. If it's positive, it doesn't. So I want to be able to give the viewers and our friends that are following us along something that's and we make it lighthearted just because it's us. Doesn't mean that we're not having Jenna McKay talk about sex trafficking, but we're also talking about the hope that she has in bringing advocacy to it and shedding the light on it and stuff like that. You know?
Well, and I think that, and you may be wondering, why don't we get into more political topics, if you've ever wondered that? Well, we don't do that because it's polarizing. And in the end, at least I understand this, and I think he's in the same boat. We're guinea pigs in the middle of a system that we actually don't know the answers to.
Yeah, it's true.
And for us to assume that one is more right than the other or all those things, I will go into the moral conundrums that I have.
I agree.
I will go, hey, this is wrong and this is right. But we stay away from those things because we want to have an honest conversation. As soon as you start using talking points from other people's talking points, when it comes to politics, you're now nothing but just propaganda.
Correct.
And that's, if you know us, that's not our heart. Our heart isn't propaganda.
No.
I don't think I've had a meaningful conversation with you about politics. If it ever comes up,
I'm okay with that because I feel like I would much rather, man. I have probably equal amount of friends on one side of the line politically as I do the other, and I love that. And I also love that I've had people ask me politically what side I'm on, because that's a good thing. I feel like it's okay to be not I don't want to use the term lukewarm or in the middle, but if you make your life so much about politics, then you're reducing yourself to that's all you are.
Exactly.
You are just Sarah the Democrat or Angel the Republican. You are no longer yourself. You no longer have your own thoughts and your own personality and your own spark to bring to the table.
And it's also, and we're going to get into it. We're going to get into our faith. We're actually going to talk a little bit about our faith a little bit today.
I'm excited about that.
I think it's important to kind of hear our hearts. And it's just like we were talking about. You can say, I've met plenty of people that are Democrats that don't support all of the policies, just like I've met plenty of people that are conservative that don't support all the policies. And I think by throwing absolutes out there, you get rid of the heart of the individual. If all you want is a label, just go on to social media, you got your label. I don't want that.
No.
I am a father, but I'm also a husband, but I'm also a business owner, and I'm also a friend. To say that one of those things is all that I am, it alienates the other things. And I feel like if all you want is a label and alienate the rest of you, that's something that you can have. That's why we stay away from those subjects, if you've ever wondered. And it's not because we do believe deeply in things, but it doesn't fix anything. You can't have conversations with somebody if you come in smacking them with a bunch of things that they're like, I got you. And it's like, for what reason?
And never in the history of mankind, I think, has someone on social media convinced somebody to vote a different way.
No.
So it's like, and I say this in a political year, it's 2024. There's going to be an election this November. And goodness, it's going to be so annoying this summer and fall leading up to it. All of the posts of, I just went through and deleted all my friends. And I'm just like, who cares? Who cares? Like, I'm about to delete you just because you're so freaking negative. I don't care who you bleep and voted for. Like, get that stuff out of here.
But to me, it's also to me, that's the same spirit and the same heart of 99% of Christians won't share this because they're ashamed of God. And you don't share it. And it's just like, you don't understand.
If you don't share this, you're holding a blessing away from you.
But what are you doing? All you're doing is propagating norms that people judge. You're not actually being an individual. You are being a spokesperson for somebody else's thing.
Yeah.
And so if you wonder, you're watching it, you're like, man, I don't understand. Sometimes, they're this way and someone else this. We are ourselves. And when it comes to, we want somebody else to be free to be themselves and be free to disagree with us, but we're still going to love them because in the end, they're still a human being. And there's power in understanding the value of somebody, whether you agree with them or not.
Yeah.
And I love that I pointed to you with that. We actually agree on a lot of stuff, but it's one of those.
Are we called to change their political view, or are we called to love people?
Precisely.
Right? So if you are so one-sided, drink the Kool-Aid that it agitates you if somebody makes a post opposite of you, that means you are now more that party than you are yourself. Yeah. Like, what a scary place to be if you're reduced just down to who you're voting for. I mean, no president is going to save you.
No.
Truly.
No.
Truly.
And that goes into our faith. Your decision of who you believe, where you go to church, who you pray, all that stuff, that's between you and God and who you decide. That's the journey that you're on. 100%. I'm never going to tell you what you should believe. I'll say, this is what I believe.
Yeah.
And then say, oh, why do you believe that? And I may poke at what you believe to kind of let you solidify in your own mind.
Yeah.
But I'm never going to be like, you're wrong. It's like, well, I used to think that, but I think this is
It's not our place. It's not our place.
No. And so when it comes to faith and stuff, I think that, like, if all of the Christians in all of the denominations were just been like, sit down and be like, you're right, what are you going to do now?
Yeah.
And get rid of that chip on their back.
Yeah.
I mean, like, but you don't understand. I'm a Presbyterian. It has to be this way. Like, that's fine. And if this is the way you feel it, that's wonderful. But what else are you?
Correct.
Like, but
I'm a this. I'm like,
yeah. What else are you?
Yeah.
I think that's what we're called. And we can't really be in the world and not of the world if you're not actually in the world.
If you're not contributing.
But if you're not contributing, but if you're also, you're not going and seeing what's happening in your community and your society.
Yeah.
And you make your own island.
Yeah.
And you live on this island.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, on this island, you deem that everybody else's island's wrong.
Yeah.
And then you get mad that nobody comes to your island, even though you've put, we're right, stay away.
Yeah, exactly. Big caution tape around your island, like, you can only be here if you think this one way. And you're not going to, what do they say? I mean, you win more, what is it? Win more flies with honey than with vinegar. I mean, you're always going to be that much more of an attractive person. When I say attractive, I mean in the eyes of people wanting to either follow you along or just completely disregard you. If you're more loving, if your character is that of somebody who wants someone to succeed,
sure,
no matter what political party they are, or race, or color, or creed, or whatever, those are my kind of people. I would rather just be around people, whether they're religious or not, or atheist or not, or believer or not, or black, red, white, purple, green, or blue.
Doesn't matter.
If they're people, if they are loving and if they're kind, then they're more godly than anybody else because they're doing exactly what we are called to do, which is purely just to love people, not to say, hey, our denomination is correct, or well, I heard that your church does this, and it's just like,
no.
That's what's always bothered me. A lot of things bother me, but that's what's always bothered me. Having grown up in the church and being around church literally my whole life, I've always it's always put just kind of a bitter taste in my mouth that the paradigm between Catholicism says this and Protestantism says this and AOG this and Assemblies of God this and Lutheran this and Presbyterian this and and I'm just like, I think of Jesus in a synagogue flipping over tables because he was so distraught about where it had gotten. I'm just like, my Jesus isn't judging. My Jesus is about loving people,
100%.
Meeting people where they're at,
100%.
And loving people through their sin. And we've all fallen short of the glory of God, right?
Yep.
Thank God there's salvation. Thank God that Jesus died for us. But at the same time, you don't have to die on that hill. Your job is not to tell people that they're wrong. Your job is to love them through whatever they're going through. Let God go into their heart and convict them how they will through the Holy Spirit.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
And then all we can do is live as best as we can, to live as righteous a life as we can, a God-fearing life as we can, and love people no matter where they're at. And that's my relationship with God, man. My relationship with God can literally be boiled down to a little kid that needs his dad.
Yes.
That's me. And there's no better, and we talked about this last week when we were talking about the father heart of God. Sure. My relationship with God is that of a little boy who needs his dad. And that resonates with me because from a wanting to crawl into the father's chest as a child, I'm thinking about my son and my daughter and Bodhi. Like if they stub their toe, they get to crawl up onto me and I'm just there to love them and hold them. Sure. That's my image of God. That's my relationship with God. It's more me saying, "Oh man, I messed up again," but I know that you're there, and I know that you're just, and I know that you are quick to forget of my transgressions. Absolutely. Because of mercy.
Well, yeah, I think you hit it right on the head, man. I think that it really just comes down to that knowing. You just know in your heart. And I think that's the strength that people don't realize. The strength of God. Okay, not the strength of Christianity and not the strength of religion, but the strength of God, Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, Yahweh. Like, the strength of that is knowing that you have a safe place. No matter what chaos happens around you. Shalom, literally authority over the authority of chaos.
Yeah.
Who's got the authority over chaos? It's God. Yeah. When chaos happens in your life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I feel like it's easier for us to allow chaos to happen. And this is something that really makes me frustrated. Chaos happens in your life. Something bad happens because of a decision that you made. And then you get mad at God. Or God's the problem because of these things. God's the problem. It's like, no, it's a personal relationship.
Yeah.
If I have an issue with you, that's my issue that I have with you. That is not your issue.
It's not my issue.
And even if it is your
issue. Say it again, Joe. Say it again.
And even if it is your issue, I go, man,
it's not,
our relationship is more important. And I feel like what people don't realize is we deal with a value system that's different.
Our relationship is more important than the difference. Remember that for this November. Your relationship with people is more important than your difference with them.
Well, to me, that's the true heart. I mean, even Gandhi said, I would have been a Christian if it weren't for the Christians. Think about that phrase. I accept all of the divinity of God, the deity. I accept the scriptures. I accept what he is here as all of it in front as truth. But the Christians really frustrate me. And honestly, I feel that way a lot. Not because,
he's very right.
Here's the thing. You guys, wherever you're at and wherever you're at in life, or even wherever you live, you can type in right now, and there are churches giving out clothes, there's churches giving out food, there's churches helping out. There's a lot. They do that. Very charitable, very kind. You can look that up, but it's not just Christian churches. I mean, Mormon churches, Buddhist churches. Yeah. Why? Because part of most the scripture of most religions are to be kind.
Yeah.
Right? If we could understand that. Yeah. People understand, well, why is religion important? It's important for you to go, hey, maybe the world isn't about you. Like we were talking about parenting. Maybe the world's not about you. Maybe there's more happening than you understand. Maybe there's more happening around you. And
it's better when it's not about you.
And when you go, hey, I have faith in God, what does that mean? That means I believe that he's going to take care of you and he's going to take care of the situation. That doesn't negate me
100%
from investing if I need to invest. So correct. To me, it's that.
Well said.
To me, it's that concept of faith.
Yeah.
What is faith? Well, it's the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Okay, let's break this into English. What does it really
make it make sense?
Okay. If I have faith in you and I believe in you and I believe in our relationship, I'm going to make time for the relationship.
Yeah.
I'm going to put action to it.
Yeah.
But it's through the conviction of my belief in you that I have that conviction. When I have faith in somebody and I believe that person can do the best things possible, that's faith.
Correct.
But I still have to invest myself. If I believe it's possible,
correct.
I have to help make that manifest itself. But I have to do it through boundaries.
Correct.
If I believe I know what's best for you and then I'm becoming God for you.
Yeah.
And I don't have faith for you.
Correct.
I'm now trying to enslave you.
Correct.
And so often you don't have debates about people wanting to be wanting God to reign. You're having debates of whose narcissism will reign supreme, who wants to enslave the other person. Because right now, if the heart of the Republican Party wants to enslave the Democratic Party, and the heart of the Democratic Party wants to enslave the Republican Party, and it's like, guess what?
Scary place.
You're both pretty. Can I go home? Because I don't want either of you to win. If it involves somebody becoming a slave.
Yeah.
Because the whole point of America being established was the pursuit of happiness, the liberty, the freedom to choose and to believe and to be who you want to be. I'm against the government going, hey, this is the religion. If America were to go, Christianity is our religion, I'd be terrified.
Yeah.
Because you're getting rid of the ability of that individual to have the freedom to do that.
Correct.
But to me, that's biblical.
Which is what we were founded on.
To me, that's biblical. And so people go, well, what do you believe? I'm like, I try and just believe that we are created in the image and likeness of God, and every single person was created with such an importance
and value
and
identity and a role that they can play in their life that nobody else can.
And if all you think is slavery is wrong, then you've missed the point of what it was. Slavery was devaluing so much so as to an object. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, what do we do? What do people do when they watch pornography? They're devaluing somebody into an object. They're objectifying them.
They're objectifying somebody.
What do you do when you go to a grocery store or a restaurant and the person doesn't give you exactly what you want when you want it? You've objectified them. You've just turned them into a slave in your mind.
Yeah.
And so I feel like it's a much deeper conversation than people have than to what do you believe? No. How do you believe?
Yeah. And how do you put it into practice, man? What is it about you that somebody from the outside can look and say? It was probably 4 or 5 years ago now. I was at a lunch with a realtor. I don't believe he was a believer, but he asked me, he's like, what is it? How did he ask? He didn't ask. He just said, there's something different about you from like a peace standpoint. And that right there, I was just like, okay, I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
And honestly, I didn't get preachy because I know better.
Yeah.
Right. If you start to get preachy on people, somebody's going to just freak out. And I was like, bro, my life is, and we had just had Beckham. So it was 2019. I was like, my life isn't about me. And I have so much more peace when it's not about me.
So good.
And I don't even think I said anything about like, oh, my life is about serving Jesus. But I was just like, my life isn't about me.
Yeah.
And there's no better place to be in your life than finding things that are more important than your own life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like we were talking about last week. I mean, with having kids, the second you have a kid and you get to stare at that baby in the face, you're like, my life is no longer about me.
Yeah. And
from a faith standpoint, if we are here for a reason, and that reason is to love people, live as God-fearing lives as we can, and love people and meet people where they're at and love people through it, then we get to do that.
Yeah.
I get to do that through every loan application, every client meeting, every fitness plan that I build out. Every time I go to the food bank or go and volunteer or go to a dinner, every time I'm out in public, I get to be Jesus to people. I get to be serving. I get to be loving. I get to meet them where they're at.
100%.
And there's that brings me so much peace because this is not the Cameron show.
No.
This is the everybody else show.
No, this is the Cam and Joe show right now.
This is somebody clicks in, they're like, this is the Cam show. No, not the one I wanted.
Apparently
my life is not the Cam show.
Sure.
And I have so much more peace when it's not about me. And that's call it like it is. That's a call to action. Somebody watching. It's like, if you're stressed out about the day to day and you're worried about finances, go give some money. Like if you're worried about time,
100%.
Go and volunteer some time.
Yep.
Because call it God or the universe or whatever you want to call it, I promise you, my life is a testament to this.
Yep.
It will come back tenfold.
And investing.
Pressed down, shaken, and rolling over. Because that's just that is the currency of heaven. That is the currency of God.
Yeah.
What we can give. If all you can ever take is what you give, and we understood that, we would all be much more focused on giving.
Absolutely.
Not accumulation,
no.
which is the opposite. I mean, that's capitalism 101. Like, how much can we get until we're gone?
Yep.
I'm like, okay. No, it's not about that. As they say, you'll never see a U-Haul behind a hearse. So if all we have is our time and our talents, what are we doing to love people and give with that time? Because we only have so much, right? Yeah. What are we doing with the time that we have and the talents that God's given us? Even if that talent is the ability to cry with someone who's going through a hard time, or rejoice with somebody who's going through a great time, or hear. I mean, we have 2 ears and one mouth. Like if we just took a second to think through that, that means we should be listening twice as much as we are speaking.
Yeah.
I'm like, would the world be a better place if everybody listened twice as much?
Yeah.
There probably wouldn't be wars in every continent.
You know, it's funny. People ask me because I help out at a church. That's why we're able to use a lot of the equipment, which is amazing. No secrets about it. But here's the thing: when it comes to attending church, I normally attend church when I'm working.
Yeah.
Because I am all the time.
Yeah.
But that isn't where I get my relationship with God. Mm-hmm. That isn't when I get my time. And I think like people have substituted out God as a fast food that you go, or an event that's becoming something. And let me just explain what I believe. I think that church is community. Yeah. I come to see my friends. I come to see my family. Yeah. I come to see like-minded people that we know. Yeah. It's a safe place. Yeah. Right? I take my kids. Yeah. My kids go. They have friends. They build relationships. I mean, we literally met at a second grade church school. Yeah. Right? Yeah. That's where we met, and we became
Without
friends.
We wouldn't be buddies.
And that, what we did, similar things. You find people that have similar likings. You come together and you build community. That's powerful. That's important. But that is the whole purpose of the building. Correct. Is to build communities that will outlast you. Correct. Right? It isn't. I don't go to churches to learn more about God. Okay. I do that on my own time.
I like that.
I sit down and I'll open up my Bible and I'll read and I'll process and I'll think about it, and I take that information and I process it to my experiences in my life and make it personal. That's when I get my God time. I don't get it when I go to church. I go to church for my family. Yeah. So that's a day of rest for my wife. She doesn't have to be at the shop. Or that's time for my kids to get to play with other kids. Yeah. And get to be around other people. Yeah. And so I think that it's the twisting. It's this, you have to go. No. If you feel like Christianity is as shallow as a building, I'm sorry that someone told you that. If you feel like you have to go to a building to experience God, that's also a lie. If you have to, that's not how it works. I go because of the community element. I get to be around like-minded people. Same. And the more I go to other churches and see other people, the more I realize there's so many like-minded people that love each other. Yeah. And I've been into Orthodox churches and Lutheran churches. I tell you about the documentary I did?
Which?
So I was with my buddy Roger Joyner. The guy is an amazing. He ran a house of prayer in Orville. Okay. Super cool dude. And he's like, hey man, I got this vision. What if we interview all these pastors and we hear their heart? We let them pray for the city. We hear their heart. We let them talk. Would you set up your camera and film that? And he goes, at the end, we'll put together a montage. I said, okay, let's give it a shot.
And show it to all the pastors to let them all realize that they're all doing
that's literally what we did.
That's awesome.
And we're talking from Catholic Church to Lutheran to all of them. Yeah. And you'd be surprised how many were like,
really?
Yeah. There was that, and then there were other ones that were there a little longer. So-and-so did it. I would never do it then. And it was just this club of VIP but the good part of it, we had 22 people be a part of it. And when I was editing it, I was just like, okay, I don't know how I'm going to edit it. I listened to every single person and noted through, and I ended up finding out they all said the same thing. And to me, it's exactly what you're saying. They said, we really care about that one person, that individual that really needs an encounter, really needs to have that moment. And I was like, oh, there it is. Yeah. And at the end, the prayer, I got to slice together all of what they said and made this beautiful prayer. It was awesome. Yeah. And we showed it to him. It was powerful. It created a church allegiance thing, type of thing. But
that's awesome.
But getting to hear all those people's hearts, getting to hear that, I got to see truly what the intent of religion, or not religion, but the trueness, unadulterated religion.
Yeah.
The truly loving people, truly wanting to do that, but that is so hidden behind pomp and circumstance, or dead work deeds, or dead processes that probably don't need to be there anymore.
Yeah.
That you're like, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
You know?
The church is not some big old temple. The church is the Brian Davis's at Motor Park every Friday at noon.
Love it.
Loving on people and bringing food and shoes and clothes. Yeah. That's the church. Yeah. So when somebody says, you know, are you affiliated with a church? Yes, I belong to Hope Point Church on Garden Highway that I absolutely love, but you have to unpack the term like church. Well, it's not about a building. It's not about every Sunday at 9 or 11. It's about the active church, which is the people of God that have that relationship with God, doing their absolute best, though we fail, which is why grace is a thing, to love people like Jesus did, love them through whatever they're going through like Jesus did. But how much of a better place would how much of a better Yuba City or Sutter County or Yuba Sutter in general would it be if everyone that had faith had that Brian Davis faith, had that go out and serve because that's what we're called to do faith. Sure. Instead of just showing up every Sunday and going to church. That's why so many people are turned off by church. Yeah. It's not a chin scratcher to me. People are like, oh, I'm turned off by church. It's like, oh, well, church is full of sinners and two-faced people. Good, first off, because that's where they should be. Yeah. Yeah. Right? Like that's where they should be. But also allow church to be so much more than the religion of going to church. Allow it to be active. Go out and volunteer with us on a fourth Friday at the food bank and come love on people.
Well, church exists in your limitations. Or it exists outside of your limitations. Yeah. Both can be at the same time. Correct. If you have limited, I mean, it's just kind of like when people go, it was like when people go, oh, do you believe in God? It's a loaded question. Yeah. You want a surface level? Yeah. Yeah. God's about as real as this table. Yeah. Does that mean it's a utility? Does that mean? Yeah. No, it's so much more. It's a relationship. There's depth to it. There's conversation. Correct. It's like Cameron, you going, do you believe in me? I'd be like, well, what do you mean in what context? Of course I believe in you. Like, you can do anything you put your mind to, right? Yeah. I think that everyone wants to feel like there's a label that fits them. Yeah. They want to have the badge of, I am a proud.
Yep. I voted today.
And it's like, good for you. Yeah. If you're so shallow.
It's a belonging thing.
And I can understand point too, like we were talking about community, and I understand there are some people that sports is their community. That's where they find their life. Yeah. But if that community starts becoming really angry because your team didn't win, and now you become bitter the rest of that week, maybe, saying, maybe you need a community that's going to go, hey, that's not okay. Call you out on that. Yeah. I mean, the truth of community is vulnerability. Yeah. If you can't be around people that you're vulnerable with, that you feel safe with. And I think that's why people get really frustrated with churches when there's scandals and stuff, because it was like, you're supposed to be safety. You said you were safe, and now you're not, which is the same reason people feel offense.
Pulling back the layer.
Right. It's the same same reason people feel offense when their dad leaves. Yeah. You were supposed to be protector, and now I'm not protected. Yeah. Or mother leaves. You were supposed to be nurturing. You were not nurturing. Yeah. And I think that's an understandable feeling. Yeah. And we tell people you shouldn't feel that way about. No, please do. Yeah. Please feel exactly that, but don't let that feeling become who you are.
Correct. And don't let your response to that dictate your trajectory through life, right? If you're able to find grace through whatever you've gone through, I'm thinking back to, I can't remember what episode Jenna McKay was on, but having walked through being sex trafficked, now utilizing that as a platform to show that it does still happen in America, in cities all over the U.S.
Oh my gosh.
To bring awareness. Yeah. She could have just experienced it as horrific and as terrible as it was and just bottled it up. And then she would have gone through all of that, but it would have never helped another individual get through it, right? It's like when you go through something, it's like, man, oh, I'm going through this. This is awful. And it's hard to see the forest for the trees. But if you can kind of pull yourself back a little bit and be like, I'm going through this because A, it's going to grow me, and B, it's going to help somebody else, then everything you go through, while it may be a very bad day, it's just going to be part of your testimony. It's going to be part of something else that God was able to bring you through. And if you don't share it, and if you're not able to put it out there for somebody else as a lighthouse against the rocks in the water, and somebody else's boat's right there in the water and they don't know about the rocks, you can be that lighthouse and be like, hey, I walked through this. I understand what you're going through. And meet them where they're at. I don't know. I don't think that there's a greater heart of God than loving on people that are going through stuff. And that's why for me personally, like I would so much rather, and this is no knock on my job, I love lending. It's afforded me a great life and time with my family. But at the same time, would I rather be at the food bank boxing boxes 100%. And donating my time versus like looking at pay stubs and qualifying income? It's not as sexy as it sounds.
Set yourself up a pretty easy.
I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying. I like my. Don't get me wrong, and I say that from a place where I love my job. I love the career field that I've chosen. But at the same time, with the amount of time that we have on this earth, I would much rather be out loving on people, meeting them where they're at, and I don't think there's a greater calling. Well, but there's so much peace there. So like, I keep wanting to turn to the camera and like speak right into somebody's soul. It's
I know. I'm feeling it
too. Like, I'm putting myself in a position of somebody who's watching this right now. That's maybe just going through it. It's like, if you are struggling right now, and I mean this, if you're struggling right now from an identity standpoint, go out and serve, because you're going down to the carnal base floor foundation of why we're here. You cannot be depressed while you're out volunteering. You can't be depressed while you're hugging someone who's experiencing spousal abuse or homelessness. You just can't be, because now you're around other people that are experiencing very real, raw, terrible things.
Well, it balances it.
Exactly. And it's going to show you that other side of the coin. Maybe
things could be worse.
Maybe things could be a little bit worse, because I guarantee you there is somebody out there that is having a harder day, a harder week, or a harder year.
Well, and treating others how you want to be treated. If you're treating people in that place, hopefully it never happens, but if you were ever in that position and you needed that, people would be there to love you.
Correct.
And I think that comes...
because you were able to be there for them.
Yeah, I think it comes down to the mindset of victim versus victor. Are you the victim of your situations, or have you overcome your situations?
I like that.
And
that's tough.
I love God because it says there's victory in the name of Jesus. There's victory in my identity with Jesus, because he took all of sin and transgression on him. That's why I'm a Christian.
Yeah.
Because I have victory.
And you know that you do.
And I know that I do, because of the experiences that I've had with him in the relationship and with the time. And the more I read the scriptures, the more I realize the victory we have in life.
Yeah.
But the freedom we have to choose to be a victor or a victim. And I think, like, if you're in a business, and this is business advice, if you're running a business and you feel like your customers could do better, or you feel like in your sulking because you didn't get X amount of sales and stuff like that, then you're playing the victim card.
Yeah.
You get to overcome that obstacle, because if you don't, your business is going to go away.
Yeah.
If you go, my wife hates me because such and such and such and such, and you don't decide to fix that situation and you play the victim, then you'll never be a victor. Then you're going to lose your family. Yeah. And I think that part of my faith in God is realizing that I have a place of surrendering my right to be right. Yeah. I'm surrendering it.
I love that.
I'm letting it go. I don't have to be right.
And how freeing is that?
Dude, it's so...
like, you have a whole different level of zen if you know that you're not having to wage a war that's already been won. You have peace knowing that your creator is on your side.
Yeah.
And you have peace knowing that at the end of the day, no matter how hard life can get, or how far you've run from God, you're always just a 180 away from going right back into his arms.
100%. So I think, it's easy with faith. I think it's easy to say, I was hurt by the church and I will never go back. There's hypocrisy, there's two-faced, there's liars. Well, and anywhere you go and anywhere you work and anything that you do, you are going to experience hypocrisy on every level. I mean, I do coffee, right?
Yeah.
I roast my own beans, make syrups. When I see people drinking Starbucks, there's this part of me that goes, hypocrisy. How dare you?
What were you thinking?
Right? But how do I go about that? I can't be like, you are living a lie.
Yeah.
No one's going to buy my beans that way. Like, no one's going to experience what I've experienced or want it, because that's not a joyful situation. If all I do is yell at you and go, how dare you?
Yeah.
But if all I do is sit there and go, they only like Starbucks, they don't like mine, and I become a victim in the market,
all bad.
I destroy my own business. So how much of our own society and how much of our own life are we destroying ourselves? If you've been hurt by the church, I'm so sorry that happened. You probably dealt with somebody that in their own life felt like they were a victim in their own ways.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that's all of who you are. That doesn't mean you're just a broken person that's been outcast by the church and that's all who you are. That's a lie.
Yeah.
You can be anything you determine to be. You're either an overcomer or an undercomer. The situation that happened in your life, it was wrong and it was bad, and that person should have done more. But then you have to let them go because you're the one determining what they should have done. You still have the determination of going, maybe it was a bad situation, but I'm going to let that go and become a victor in my own life instead of the victim of somebody else's.
Amen, buddy. Couldn't have said it any better. If I had something to add there, I would have. But when you nail it, all I get to do is go, what he said.
Yeah, and so we just wanted to be honest with that because people have asked us about our faith.
Yeah.
And, and it's not a secret. What I believe isn't a secret, and I'm not going to preach a sermon to you, but what you do need to know is if somebody isn't living out the life the way that you see they should be living that life out, maybe you're seeing it that way because God's asking you to have faith in that person and to believe in a little bit more than what they're doing, or maybe to build a relationship with that person so you can help them grow. But if all you're wanting to do is slap somebody down because they hurt you, if all you're wanting to do is get justice and vengeance and this vendetta in you,
it's not gonna.
You are going to die slowly because your body won't even take that stuff. You know how many people, when I was working at the hospital, how many diseases and problems people have because they're like, I hate so. They would tell you,
God, it's literally like drinking
such and such. I hate
drinking poison and waiting for someone else to die.
Gosh, and your body retains that. I genuinely
chemically, it does.
Yeah, and every time you do that, and when you release judgment, when you release forgiveness, and you let go of the right of being right, you're actually telling your body it's okay to heal and to get back what's going on. And I think if we don't even realize what we do and what we say to other people subliminally. And if you can get your inner thoughts taken care of. And what helps me get my inner thoughts taken care of is my relationship with Jesus. I'm able to go, God, I don't know why I thought that. That person actually really is a very kind person. Help me love them like you love them, and I let it go. That's my relationship with God.
100%.
It's much easier for God to be the judge. It's much easier for him to be the one. But if I think of God, and God is love, and I think of love, a lot of people want to be, like you said, a loving father. Some people would interpret that as the police officer.
Yeah.
It's like, look.
Because that was their own experience.
Precisely. And it's like, no, love is patient and kind and gentle. It does not celebrate in the wrongdoings of others.
Yeah.
I mean, the Bible goes into that detail. And if you're around people that you feel like aren't that part of the Bible to you, then that's not your community. Don't stay.
Yeah, don't stay.
You have the ability
to leave.
You don't have
to stay. Don't stay.
Go.
Don't
stay at a church and become bitter, old, and gray, and then complain that the world's belting. Don't stay in a political party that's doing the same thing. If you don't like it, it's just like live your life like the food you like. Eat the food you want to eat. Don't eat the food you don't want to eat, and live your life. Be willing to share that meal with somebody else because you love it so much. But Cameron, I don't think I've ever been like, this is truly awful. You want some?
This is horrible. You should try it.
If someone's like, the only thing I could ever think of is like, I'm thinking about going over there. Ooh, that was pretty rough. I didn't like it. You can give it a shot, and then you give them the free will to do the thing.
Yeah.
But I've never been like, bro, I hate this so much. Do you want some?
Yeah, no.
As much as people do that to religion.
Yeah, that's
like,
true.
Look, I don't agree with Seventh-day Adventists. That doesn't mean I hate Seventh-day Adventists.
Yeah.
I don't agree with Mormonism. That doesn't mean I hate Mormons.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I disagree, but and?
Yeah. What's next?
And we're moving on. Like,
yeah.
I disagree with my kids when they do something. That doesn't mean I don't love them. I disagree with my wife all the time, and she hates that.
I'm going to tag Regina.
Hashtag disagree. But I think that living our own life that way, and I think by allowing religion and allowing the situations you had to determine your destiny, you're allowing that to determine your destiny. Yeah. You're allowing yourself to isolate yourself. You're allowing the system to throw you into the bus. Yeah, the system's broken, but it's broken because there is no heart of God in there. There's no heart of the individual. There's no heart of going, we should help honor other people.
And when you can get back to it being about people and speaking life into them, man.
Yeah.
Thinking of, remember that it was a couple years ago, they did this experiment where they took 2 different plants, and you probably know where I'm going with this.
Oh, it's so cool.
And they took one plant and into a room and zeroed out any other audio, and they gave it the same amount of equal sunlight and water, but one plant, they told the plant that it was ugly, and they yelled at the plant and told the plant that the world's on fire because of you. And then in the other room, they spoke pleasantly about the plant. They told the plant, hey, you have a future and a hope, and you're beautiful, and you are here for a reason, and you're going to stem the most beautiful flowers and the most beautiful fruit ever. And then it manifested. Yeah. The plant that they spoke negatively to, a freaking plant died.
Yep.
And then the plant that they spoke positively to started to thrive and bud and bloom. How much more is there to us than a plant?
Absolutely.
So if you just take that, if you heard nothing else today, love people and treat people the way you want to be treated. Yeah. And from it, not only is that going to fill up your own cup with positivity and positive momentum and love and peace and joy, but it's going to release the other individual to experience those same things because you are going out of your way to show them that love and that peace and that joy.
You know what's crazy? So I'll snitch on myself. I literally was praying, God, I want to be more like you. Mm-hmm. You do that prayer. At least I do.
I pray that almost every day before I get out of bed. I just say, God, I don't want to be in the driver's seat today.
Yeah.
Jesus, take the wheel. Right. God, you lead me the way you want me to be led. You take care of whatever's going to come up in my day. You are there and you know it before I do.
Absolutely.
Give me your peace that surpasses all understanding. Let me love people where they're at. Let's go and start the day. But then you just have peace about your day.
You're dedicating it.
And then another life hack. Don't check your phone for the first 30 minutes of being awake, 20 to 30 minutes of being awake. Because before I got into this mindset of starting my day on my knees, I would start my day and then you instantly go into text and then email and then Instagram and then Facebook and then, and you have all that on your mind before you even had a sip of water or coffee. It's like, oh my God, you're poisoning your own well, hoping to draw a beautiful crop. It's like, it's not how it works.
No, for sure.
Start your day with giving your day back to God and getting out of the driver's seat and not being a backseat driver.
That's awesome.
I love you.
I love you too. Back to my story I was going to say, because you did you did an amazing job on it. I love it.
Did I hijack that one?
Yeah, it's okay. My bad. I was going to snitch on myself. So I asked God, please make me more like you.
Yeah.
Okay. So the worst thing you can ever pray for somebody is I pray that you become more patient. Their whole life is going to go totally crazy until they realize, I should be patient in this situation.
That's awesome.
It's like asking, I want to be more loving. Well, you're going to be around the most difficult people.
Yeah, and you're going to learn to love.
And you're going to learn to love. Or you're going to learn to absolutely hate them and poison yourself.
Yeah.
And then go around the circle until eventually you're like, I really want to love people again.
Yep.
Who knows how long you had to go to the wilderness to do it.
Correct.
You'll figure it out.
Yep.
So I was praying. I said, God, make me more like you. And I've had some situations. It's hard running business. It's hard with relationships with so many people. Sometimes you're not in your best.
Yeah.
And I've had plenty of situations where I could have been way more kind in the situation, but there's the financial stress, the emotional stress, my health at one point. Yeah. I burnt some bridges with a couple people. And I was, God, help me be more like you. And within the same week, both people were like, hey, let's talk.
Like, oh, Lord, help me.
Okay. And the amount of having to humble myself and come into conversation, just be like, look, I give up the right of being wrong. We both could have been more loving in the situation. I'm sorry. Let's just start over.
Yeah.
We're not taking it from 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I won't bring it up again. If you don't bring it up again, let's just leave it and let dead dogs die.
Yeah.
Or let dead dogs lie, and we'll move on beyond that. And there was an amount of freedom mentally that I never thought I'd have, that I was like, wow. Because I know from a limited amount of, when you have an offense with somebody, you don't mean to think what you think. And then you're on social media and you see them, you're like, oh, that person. And it jostles you inside. Yep. And then it lives in your brain rent free, where all of a sudden, man, today's a good day. And then all of a sudden, burnt, like
offense.
And then it just slowly, all of a sudden, you're just like, oh, and I've learned to do the opposite of what I'm feeling in the situations. Say the opposite of what I wanted to say. For example, there was a misunderstanding between me and my brother. I don't remember what happened specifically, but we're brothers. That's what happens.
Yep.
And I was just livid. I'm at the hospital, and I've played this thing out of my mind for 3 hours. Yeah. And I'm just like, oh man, when I call him, I'm going to be, I'm going to be so mad. And as I'm going, I got my phone out, literally clocked out, about to make the phone call. And I literally hear God go, is this what you want to do? And I had practiced how I was going to tell him all, right? I hit the phone call.
Listen.
And I answered it, and all of a sudden, I felt a total, hit in my gut. And I went, hey, what's up, man? Hey, I just wanted to call you and let you know that I really love you, and that I'm proud of you, and that I'm sorry if I haven't been kind. Oh, man, well, I love you too. I'm sorry if I haven't been kind either. Life's been really difficult. And we had a total vulnerable moment, and then we moved on. And then all of the offense just melted away. And then I wept after I got off the phone.
I bet.
Because I built myself up to such a point.
Yeah.
If that's how I was with my brother, who I'm related to, right?
How much more?
How much is that to somebody that you feel like is replaceable? To somebody that you feel like, or somebody you don't even know. Some of the people, like with sports or with politics, they get so built up. You're like, I hate so-and-so. They need to die because they made extra points in this basketball game. And it's like, dude, it's a basketball game. Okay,
chill.
That's their job. They're doing their job. Do you get mad at a contractor? Man, he built that house too fast. It's his job. Chill.
That fence is perfectly hung.
How dare you do so well? It just doesn't make sense to me. But I also understand it. It's this thing inside of us. When something is opposing us, we want to get mad at it. But maybe it's opposing you because you've given it permission to.
And you've given it power over you.
And you have to let that go so you can become perfect and complete, lacking nothing.
Yeah.
So if you wondered, hopefully this episode, hopefully it didn't bore you. But
I don't think so. I hope not.
This is our heart.
I want to keep it real.
Yeah, this is our heart when it comes to what we believe. What we believe.
Yeah.
Where we believe. How we believe. And it's going to throw some people off. That's totally fine. We are Christians that run businesses. We are Christians in our life. And our life, at least I want my life to be a pleasing, fragrant sacrifice to God. But that doesn't mean I'm going to beat down the doors of your heart and tell you who you need to believe, because that's the opposite. That is the absolute opposite of what God is.
Correct.
And so hopefully this enlightens you a little bit.
Yeah.
In your heart, you have a good day. You feel blessed, but you understand our heart and what we're trying to do here. And if you want to be on the podcast, somebody who wants to be a part of it, we're all about it. Please reach out to us, message us, let us know.
Or not even if you don't want to be on it, but a couple people have actually asked me recently if they could kind of be a fly on the wall or behind the camera.
Sure, yeah.
And see kind of all that goes into the podcast. Reach out or send either of us a DM or message the show, directly to the Cameron Joe Show. Let's close this with prayer real quick. Shall we? All right. Let's pray it up. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for today. Thank you for an opportunity like Joe and I have every week to get on here and just love on people, meet them where they're at, and just to bring you glory, Lord. We pray that you continue to take this platform wherever you want it to go, and not where we pridefully want it to go. But God, we give this platform to you. We pray over anybody right now that is watching this, listening to this on Spotify or watching it on YouTube. God, we just pray a blessing over their life, blessing over their family, peace over their life, God, in 2024. A lot of us have many stressors, God, but I know that you are bigger, and I know that if you bring us to it, Lord, that you can bring us through it. We give you this day, this week, and the rest of 2024. Bless our viewers as we continue to just love on them through this channel that you've given us. In Jesus' name,
amen.
Amen. Love you, buddy.
Love you too, man. Thank you for checking out the Cam and Joe Show.
If you guys are liking our content so far, you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. You can also listen to us on Spotify.